I saw on Japanese TV, maybe 2019 or 2018, they did a special on this 86-year-old Japanese woman who was a fitness coach.
Excuse me, Masen.
Welcome to another episode of the Excuse Me, Miss N podcast. I am your host, Saul Villagomez, and joining me today is Mr. Devin Yoshimoto. How's everything in the world of copywriting in Rakuten?
Yeah, using AI a lot is really, really interesting. It's made me think a lot more about words and how AI can be used just to predict everything, basically. Yeah, that's the most interesting thing about it for me.
Yeah, I noticed like after ChatGPT blew up last year, like every time I got into a taxi, taxis in Japan, they have those TVs in the back seat, right?
Mhm.
And every time I got into a cab, I would hear some kind of commercial about ChatGPT. It's always ChatGPT this, ChatGPT that, AI
Yeah.
this, AI that. But then when you go into an actual corporate setting, people, the way that they're using it isn't as grand as it sounds. You know what I mean? They're using it for simple tasks like
Yeah.
minor translations,
Yeah.
Excel calculations, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they keep talking about how it's the future, and yet nobody's using any of the features that would bring you to that step yet.
That makes sense. I think because all the commercials are selling to all the people that who are actually using it, and then when they actually use it, it's just really simple stuff. But in order to sell it, you got to talk about it like it's going to be the end of the world.
Yeah. I did hear from a few people that are actual engineers,
Mhm.
and they were telling me that they're expecting it to start taking over so many jobs, like office related jobs, by 2025. So
Mhm.
by around the end of next year is their prediction.
Yeah.
And I feel like, those websites where it's like a bunch of random people that you can hire for odd jobs, like
Like
making
Fiverr.
logos or music. Oh, they're Fiverr. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, I feel like so many of those people are losing opportunities for jobs already. Like I feel like the amount of people looking for those kind of people has reduced greatly
Yeah.
because
Instantly.
ChatGPT can do so many things.
I know you saw this, but I don't really watch MKBHD that much, but he did his thoughts on Sora, the video generation from OpenAI. And he said, yeah, basically the number one thing that's going to go away right now is stock footage for video.
Right. Yeah. I saw that. But even like logos, for example. So like let's take the logo for this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I did was I gave a bunch of prompts to ChatGPT,
Mhm.
and at the end of the prompt, I said, I want it to be in the style of Ghibli Studios. And then its response was, we cannot mimic or copy another company's style or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just said, okay, could you, and then I was like, okay, what word can I use? Could you emulate their style?
Yeah.
and then it did it. And that's the logo
Yes.
that you're gonna see on the website, on YouTube, pretty much everywhere. But
Yeah.
of course, I edited it. Like I separated the subject from the background, and I changed the colors to get it closer to what I was actually thinking about. I didn't just copy paste, but there are elements of it in the end result that you will catch. Like for example, when Japanese women wear kimono, they have like their hair tied up in a bun, right?
Mhm.
And then usually you'll see like one chopstick or two in the form of an X
Mhm.
in the bun. But in the logo, I think it's two on one side and then one on the other side.
Okay.
It makes no sense, but I just thought, it would kind of be funny if anybody can catch that it was made by AI.
Oh, wow. So you caught that, but you were okay with it. You thought you just leave it in.
Yeah, I thought it'd be entertaining, just like an Easter egg.
Like that's the thing is like arguing rhetorically is going to be really valuable because all the rules that they programmed, not really programmed, but just wrote the rules for ChatGPT not to infringe on copyright. It's just written in like a certain way. So all you have to do is be a lawyer and argue your way around it, and then it'll go around it.
Yeah. Euphemisms and synonyms and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But unfortunately, that's not our topic for
Yeah.
today. So let's get into it. So the topic today is cheap muscle gains in Japan, as in affordable muscle gains in Japan.
Cheap muscle gains in Japan. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So when I started thinking about weightlifting in Japan, I was thinking, okay, I'm just going to do body weight. And then I did that for about 3 months and I lost a bunch of body fat, where
But
we're
body
from.
weight meaning you don't use free weights or anything, just body weight exercises like push-ups.
Yeah. So like push ups, sit ups, pull ups, and then just do those daily to burn fat. And then after I burned off a bunch of fat, I was like, hey, man, I kind of like this. I want to take it a step further. So I thought, okay, what can I do? Maybe I'll go to Gold's Gym and check it out. So I went with my wife to the nearest Gold's Gym. I think it was in Funabori, if I'm not mistaken. It's not the nearest. The nearest is actually Urayasu, but it was we were walking and it was the nearest one by walk. So on foot, I mean. We went in, I bought a shake at the counter, and then I asked them for a pamphlet. And then I looked at the prices and I was like, okay, if I'm going to join Gold's Gym in Japan, I need to have the same privileges that I had when I was going to the one in Saipan.
Mhm.
And the one in Saipan was $400 a year at the time. Right now, I think it's between 5 to 7, if I'm not mistaken. But you still have that $99 for 3 months plan, I believe.
Like a trial.
Not really. You can do a 3-month payment. You can do monthly, 3 months, and then annually.
Oh, I see. Okay.
The annually one, of course, you save the most amount of money.
Yeah.
But anyways, I was looking at it and what I saw was that you still don't get all the privileges, but you have to pay $1,600 for the annual price. So you're paying
Okay.
4 times more for less. Yeah. And I was like, what in the hell? No way. I'm not even gonna consider that.
What was the
'Cause,
less?
like,
what parts
the
were
less?
missing? Yeah.
So I don't remember exactly, but there were limitations like you can only go from this time to this time, even though they're open longer.
Okay.
And you can only go from this day to this day. Yeah, so I was just like, forget that, never mind. And then my wife was like, why don't you just go to the Maihama Taikukan, which is,
Yeah.
if you guys know where Disney is, Disney Sea is right by Disney. And this gym is located in a community center, I guess, community fitness center.
Yeah, like a public gym.
Yeah, it's a public gym. And if you don't live in Urayasu, you pay like 320 yen for 2 hours.
Yes.
If you do live in Urayasu, you pay 250 yen for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And typically these government or these public gyms are really bad for like weightlifting because they'll always have like a limited number of weights, only one set, maybe only one bench with only one squat rack or whatever.
Yeah.
And the weights will be limited to, let's say, like 150 to 250 pounds. But the one in Maihama, because it's right next to Disney, just imagine how much Disney pays in taxes, right? So their gym is legit.
Oh, wow.
They have 2 full sets of dumbbells from 2 kilograms, so around 5 pounds, all the way up to 55 pounds, 2 sets of that in increments of, I think it's 1 kilogram. So about 2 pounds increments between each dumbbell. So like a lot of dumbbells and 2 full sets of them. And then they have like 5 or 6 different benches. And then there's a whole bunch of machines, probably like 20 or 30 different machines that can go up to like 300-400 pounds. So you can do, for example, fly machine. You can do leg presses. They even have like those pull downs and stuff.
It's good to have a Disney in your neighborhood.
Yeah, so you could commute every day to go there and pay $3 or 320 yen and be there for 2 hours. So I think that's worth it, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And then when I did the calculations, if I was to go there 2 times a week, and including the bus fare, and including like a drink or 2, it would equate to roughly 70,000 yen or $700. And so I went there for a year, once a week, and then I noticed a lot of gains. I just I picked up a lot of stuff from YouTube and from bodybuilding.com. And then I started going there twice a week after a year.
Mhm.
And probably after the first 2 or 3 months of doing that, I was like, man, and I stopped taking the bus and I was riding my bicycle there, which is about 40 minutes by bicycle.
Mhm.
And I would arrive
That's pretty far.
tired. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
pretty far.
okay.
40 minutes by bike. That's pretty far.
Yeah. So I would arrive tired, especially in summer, because Japan's summer is way hotter than what you would expect.
Yeah.
And so I calculated how much would it cost to buy my own equipment.
Yeah.
And I ended up going with my own equipment.
I see where you're going with
Yeah.
this. That's why the theme is cheap gains, right?
Cheap gains. Yeah. Trying to get the price as low as you can.
Yeah.
But anyways, I've been working out at home since 2016 and noticing all kinds of gains just by feeding my mind with all kinds of stuff from YouTube channels, and especially the ones that are legit, because there's a bunch of trash out there too, but there's some gems out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about myths about fitness in Japan and the facts, and then any experiences we might have in relation to those.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. By the way, I'm just curious, did they have a
Yeah.
pool at that Taikukan in Maihama? A swimming pool?
Did they have a pool?
Do you
I
remember?
don't know, but I think they did. But
Okay.
so the gym is upstairs on the 3rd floor,
Yeah.
and then there's also a studio there. And on
Oh,
the
like a
first floor,
dance studio.
yeah, on the first floor, there's like a full-sized basketball court.
Oh, wow.
And I believe there is a pool. I just haven't seen it because I don't swim.
Yeah.
But there's also a tennis court. And then outside of there is a baseball field. So there's all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff.
That's huge. Yeah, no,
And there's also a skate park there.
really?
A legit skate park. Yeah.
Really?
They built it probably in 2017 or 2018.
Outdoors or indoors?
It's outdoors.
Oh, like you saw ramps and stuff and
Yeah.
oh.
It's legit, man. Like they got the bowls and stuff like that.
Oh man.
But
Okay, okay.
anytime you go there, you'll see like a lot of tourists are there. Like the tourists will go to Disney for the day, and then they'll
Yeah.
learn that there's a skate park there, and then they'll go check it out.
Wow.
So there's like a lot of good skaters there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was
no,
talking to Kato about it. I was like, you know about the skate park in Urayasu? He was like, yeah, bro.
oh,
You can't really go there because
too many big
everybody
people.
that's there is so good. Yeah, you feel embarrassed to try.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, cause I used to go skateboarding in Hawaii, and if I go or me and my friends go, cause we suck, we have to go like the weekday, in the early morning, when the kids
Yeah.
are all going at school and stuff. Cause man, once they're there, you're just gonna be in the way.
Yeah, you feel embarrassed. Right. Yeah, you can check it out. They have a website. But before we get into it, I just want to go off on like a very short tangent. So I was with a student last week, and I forget how we got to this, but we were talking about like old traditions in Japan
Mhm.
and how some of them are really off. This is a
Okay.
Japanese woman, by the way.
Okay.
So I'm not being racist. This is what she said.
Mhm.
And then she was like, you ever heard of the brand Oi Ocha?
Yes. Oh, sorry.
you've heard of it too,
She was
right?
asking you.
She was asking me and I'm asking you.
Yeah, that's my
And
favorite.
anybody who knows about tea in Japan knows Oi Ocha.
Mhm.
I went to get my visa a couple weeks ago, and while I was at the station, like there's a very big poster on the wall in the train station
Mhm.
for Oi Ocha. And this whole time I thought that Oi Ocha meant like they put like a lot of tea, like the tea component of the tea is very dense.
Mhm.
So it's not really diluted. It's like really rich in tea, is what I thought. That's what I thought Oi Ocha meant. But apparently that's not what it means. Do you know what it means?
No.
Okay, so Oi Ocha in Japan, when you say Oi, it means you're calling somebody like Oi,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
hey. So it's
Oh,
when you call somebody that you're really close to, right?
yeah.
So imagine a man just came home from work and like a salaryman.
Yeah.
Really tired. But this is old school Japan where
Yeah.
women were still treated like trash, right?
Yeah.
And then the guy comes home, doesn't even bother to say his wife's name, he's just like, Oi, Ocha. So he doesn't even say her name, doesn't really acknowledge that she's there. He just says, give me some tea right now. And that's what inspired the name for Oi Ocha. And she was
Yeah,
telling me
that's
about
messed
that, and
up.
I was like, wow, that's messed up. And the fact that it still exists is pretty amazing, because if that was the US, that thing would have been shut down a long time ago. Cancel culture would be all over that.
But how old is that company? It's probably like
I don't know, man.
100
I
year
should have
old.
checked.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
right. It's
That's
very,
really
very
old.
old.
That's funny he said that. Yeah, actually, that makes me think of like me and my wife were talking one time. I used to watch this on TV. Like sometimes when the husband comes home and the wife is just working, not working, she's just at home, and he comes home
Yeah.
and he's tired and he sits down and then the first thing he says to his wife is "beat it, ugh, beat it," and something like that. And I'm like, man, that's
Yeah.
that's like old school.
Yeah. Old school. And I guess the kids nowadays, they may or may not have heard of that kind of culture from way back. And if you're our age, you were probably exposed to it. So it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But so California is a really progressive state, and they're basically on top of all of that all the time, trying to change everything from out with the old, in with the new, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. On that note, we should get into it already.
Yeah. So you're going to talk about myth versus fact of cheap gains or working out in Japan.
Yeah, exactly. So the first one, myth number one, traditional Japanese diet is automatically healthy and therefore good for fitness.
Mm.
That's the myth. Fact.
Okay.
The traditional Japanese diet is indeed rich in nutrients beneficial for general health and may promote longevity, but it might not meet the higher protein needs required for muscle building. And it's been my personal experience, that's definitely the case, because they prioritize a lot of fiber-rich foods, which consequently is not full, but rich also in carbs.
Okay.
So not much protein.
Okay.
So foods like natto, while high in protein, may not be sufficient for intense bodybuilding needs without supplementation. So yes, there is protein. No, there's not enough if you're trying to get beefed up.
Okay. So that's why you said, sorry to cut you off, but I'll just try to clarify. That's why you said automatically, right? That's why that word is important, because you're saying without any additional, you don't need anything else. You just need Japanese diet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So what's been your experience?
Oh, well, I don't, I've never aimed for muscle building.
No, I mean, like, at least with your diet in Japan
Mhm.
and the amount of protein that's typically in your meals, do you think it's rich in protein enough for you to where you feel like you wouldn't need supplementation? Or do you think you definitely need supplementation?
No. I don't take any supplements at all. I don't take any vitamins. I don't know if I'm in good health despite that or because of it. Or I don't know. But I mean, I can say that I don't really feel the number one thing that I like for me in the morning
Yeah.
recently these days is I've been eating granola. I don't know if you've seen that
Granola.
Japanese granola, like the fruit granola.
Yeah, I think I have.
And then I put Greek yogurt on top of it. And
Okay,
then
so you're
this-
following the guidelines that I gave you.
Yeah, well, I'm not using that yogurt, the one that you told me about. I forget which one, but there's this other brand. It's actually called Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
They sell that at the supermarket. Anyway, it's really good. And this is going to sound disgusting to other people, but what I also like to eat along with that in the morning is natto, like one package of natto and kimchi with wasabi. No, I don't put wasabi in
Oh,
kimchi.
yeah.
I put wasabi in the natto. So those three things
Yeah.
together. And I've been eating that a lot recently, and I don't know if I'm in good health or if it's going to help me gain muscle, but for that kind of thing, I feel like, man, I'm not hungry until 1 p.m., even though I'm like working. and I eat at like
Yeah.
7 or 8 a.m. And maybe I'll have like a little
Yeah.
something at 10 or 11 a.m. But I guess it's enough protein to like just keep me um, not hungry, at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the word the word protein yogurt is pretty much kind of like a gimmick because protein yogurt is Greek yogurt rebranded. They just put the word protein in there so that people who don't know that Greek yogurt has a lot of protein in it will know, and therefore they can make more sales and
Uh,
probably jack the
yeah, yeah,
price
yeah,
up a little bit.
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, that's my experience basically.
Yeah, when I came here, I was eating a lot of rice. I mean, I still eat a lot of rice, but I was eating a lot of rice. And you know, the Japanese word okazu, or like the main dish, the entree,
Yeah.
if you will, is always something like tonkatsu. So like tonkatsu
Mhm.
has bread on the outside, right? So yes, it does have a lot of protein, but there's also a lot of fat in there. And then it's breaded, so you get a lot of carbs on the outside too. Tempura
Mhm.
is the same thing. Of course, Japanese food as sashimi is a very good way to get your protein in, but not everybody eats sashimi all the time. Sashimi is more of like a celebratory kind of food. It's fairly
Yeah.
expensive and it doesn't keep for a very long time. So generally, you eat it
Mhm.
depending on your situation. But my solution to that situation was to eat a lot of eggs. So
Okay.
I did a lot of research, and because of course there's that concern about cholesterol, right? And so basically, yes, eggs do have a lot of cholesterol in them, but they don't necessarily transfer into you. You don't, just because you eat it doesn't mean you absorb it, right? And the cholesterol that you do absorb from eggs is mostly the good cholesterol. Yeah, so I eat a lot of eggs. So like typically for breakfast, I'll have 5 eggs and then I'll remove 2 of the yolks. So I'll just have
Yeah.
3 yolks and then 5 eggs worth of the whites.
Mhm.
And then when I do eat fish, to save money, I'll buy the fillet and then I'll slice it
Mhm.
myself
Yeah.
and eat that for sashimi. And then um you ever heard of hotomoto?
Yes.
Yeah, so those bento shops, man, their
Yeah.
food is so delicious and pretty cheap. So like for example, the one that I get, it's called Noriben
Yeah.
and it's 690 yen. And they give
Mhm.
you a fish fillet and then this thing called chikua, which is basically a fish cake in the form of a tube, but they cut it
Yeah.
in half lengthwise. And then they put seaweed over the rice. And then
Yeah.
underneath the rice, they put a little bit of katsuobushi. No, no, no. They put a little bit of some kind of seaweed. I don't know the name.
Yeah.
And the protein in that is crazy good. And then of course you don't have to finish all the rice. There's a lot of rice in there. For 690, it's definitely worth it. And yeah, so that's what I get a lot. Like this week I probably ordered it like 5 times already.
So you're saying you're supplementing. So you're saying like a traditional Japanese, or what you would think a traditional Japanese diet is like tonkatsu or tempura. So it's not really enough protein. So you supplement it with eggs
Yeah.
and sometimes getting
Yeah,
like
but
the
I'm
hotomoto.
specifically choosing foods that are high in protein. So
Yeah.
to show that while they are high in protein, they're not necessarily high enough and there's extra in there that you don't necessarily want. For example, too many carbs or too much fat.
Yeah.
And so like if you were to think like a typical food, you would imagine like 1 egg for breakfast, 1 egg, maybe like 2 or 3 of those mini Japanese sausages, maybe
Hmm.
some rice, miso soup, um,
Pickles.
pickles of some kind, maybe kimchi, and then maybe noodles if you wanted it. So
Yeah.
most of that is carbs, right?
Yeah.
The egg is protein. The sausages, that's mostly fats, man. That's very little protein in that. But if you imagine like their daily life, especially for a salary man, there's a lot of walking they have to do every day to commute.
Hmm.
So they burn that off and they need that to keep their energy up. So yeah, that was my solution. Eggs, bento, uh, big pieces of meat that you can slice so you can save money.
So you're able to do this. It's enough for you in your routine of building, of getting gains
Yeah,
at home.
yeah. I don't drink protein shakes. I did for a while and I don't like the taste, man. It doesn't taste good. Even the ones that do taste good don't taste that good. Like the aftertaste is weird.
Sounds pretty expensive too. Like you'd be spending extra on that also when you're buying
Yeah,
protein shake
it is
compared
kind
to
of
eggs.
expensive. We'll get into that. But
Oh yeah, yeah,
for now, let's get to myth number 2. So
yeah.
the second myth is you need expensive gym memberships to stay fit in Japan. The fact is, there are affordable alternatives to expensive gym memberships, such as
Mhm.
public sports centers, which are known as taikukans, which is the one that we talked about earlier, the one in
Yes.
Urayasu, called Maihama Taikukan. And activities like hiking or jogging, which are effective and budget friendly fitness options. But in my case, because I'm going for bodybuilding, or not necessarily
Yeah.
bodybuilding, but just building muscle, the sports center is my thing. What's your thing to stay fit?
Yeah, I haven't been working out recently because we just moved to a new place and kind of prioritizing other things right now. But when I had a routine, and I had this routine for the past few years, I would swim. So I would swim sometimes, usually 2 to 3 times a week. And I
Yeah,
do go to that Taikukan.
yeah.
And yeah, there was one Taikukan I went to in Itabashi when I was living there, and I was going there for a while. They have a 25-meter pool,
Hmm.
and I do laps. And then there was another one that I started going to afterwards that was in Otemachi. It was a little bit closer to where I was working at the time. And they also had a 25-meter pool, and I would just do laps. So yeah, that's my routine. That was my routine for a few years, going to a public gym, Taikukan, and
Hmm.
swimming laps in the pools. That's how I tried to just, and not even just stay healthy, just kind of stay not so stressed out all the time, man. Because it feels
Oh,
really good
okay.
when you finish working out, man. Your mind is just clear, and
Clear. Yeah.
it's like a bright sunny day in your head rather than like cloudy, depressing.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, that's my routine, and I'm hoping to start again soon. And also the cost is, and it's the same thing that you said. It's like it's cheaper if you're a resident of that area. If you can prove that
Yeah.
you're a resident of that area,
Right.
because it's meant to serve people in that area. But I wasn't, so I paid a little bit more, 600. Yeah, it's pretty expensive, I guess. 600 yen for 2 hours in
Hmm.
the pool,
Yeah.
and the
Okay.
plus commute there and back, which is another 400 yen. Plus, yeah, a little drink or something, which is another 600 yen. So each time is like 1,500 yen, 3 times a week. That's already, I don't know,
That's already
a
a
lot.
lot.
Yeah,
Just with
yeah.
those 3 times, you got like a month's worth for at a legit gym.
But it was worth it to me, I guess. And if it's important, to you, I guess, it's worth it to pay that much.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm hoping I can find like a cheaper way to do that. Maybe find a Taikokan in my area where I'm living now.
My end result was that I set up my own home gym. So if 1 year going to Urayasu Taikukan or Maihama Taikukan at the time was around 70,000 yen annually,
Mm-hmm.
what I did was I bought equipment from Amazon that equated to 70,000 yen. So I
70,000.
got
Yeah.
like a heavy duty bench that can both decline and incline.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got one of those pull up bars that also has the dip function.
Mm-hmm.
And I also got these dial in dumbbells. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so Bowflex makes their own. And I got the imitation Chinese one that goes up to 80, I think it was like 83 pounds per dumbbell is the highest that it can go. And then I
Mm-hmm.
got a 45-pound vest. So all in all, the weight that I can lift if I'm doing like a squat, the max that I can get is 210 pounds. So you
Wow.
really
So
have,
the vest replaced the bell for when you're doing squats.
you're talking about
You don't have
kettlebells?
to have that. No, the
The
bar.
barbell. Yeah. I don't want to have a barbell in my house just because
Yeah.
those things are long. They consume a lot of space, right? But if you have two dumbbells, you have the pull-up machine, you have your bench that can the bench that I have can also fold. So in my living room, it only takes up about maybe 4 square feet. So 4 square feet, and I have a complete gym that goes up to 210 pounds. So 210 pounds is not a lot by any stretch of the imagination. But if you make it worth it, like when you do the squats, you go deep and you go slow and you get the stretch, the full stretch. And then you, of course, get in the volume, you will make gains. You don't have to be crazy, like lifting heavy all the time. And especially the older you get, that's not a wise decision, right? You might end up like Ronnie Coleman, where you can barely walk. You know who I'm talking about?
I've heard that name, and that picture of that super buff guy comes to mind.
Yeah, he's the super buff bald guy who I think he won Mr. Olympia. Like, I don't know if it was more than Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he definitely won.
Wait, what happened to him? He cannot walk?
When I saw news about him, like he messed up his hip so many times and his knees because he would squat like 900 pounds or something like that. Wow. And now when you see him walking, he always has a limp. But in Japan, since we're talking about fitness, dude, I saw on Japanese TV, maybe 2019 or 2018, they did a special on this 86-year-old Japanese woman who was a fitness coach.
Okay.
And then she was coaching some kind of famous like actress or something for that special. And they were doing weightlifting. The actress couldn't lift the weights that this 86-year-old woman could lift. And she was also a yoga instructor. And so you're seeing this lady do all kinds of exercises that even 30-year-olds have trouble doing. And she's 86 years old. I can't say that enough, man. 86 years old. If you think 86 years old in America, okay, that's older than Biden, right? I think Biden's like 85 or something like that. Hey Siri, how old is Biden?
Joe Biden is 81 years old.
He's 81 years old, man. This lady was 5 years older than him. And if you look at Biden, they call him Sleepy Joe because he's like, just look at him, man. He looks like he needs to take a nap. Yeah, I mean, you can say whatever you want about Trump, but that was a funny joke when he said that.
Wait, so you're talking about this 86-year-old lady because
she's very flexible, she's very strong, and the point behind that story is she doesn't lift like 700-800 pounds, but she's 86 years old and she's as nimble as somebody who's in their teens, somebody who's still going to PE class in high school.
So that's why you're saying with what you have with the gym in your house, you don't have to like push it so hard, like push it to the extreme. You like consistency and longevity matters more than how much you can do in one session or something like
that. Yeah, definitely. But it's not that I'm not pushing myself. It's that I'm not pushing the weight beyond what it needs to be. Because part of when you lift really heavy, there's that ego, right? It's called ego lifting, where you just want to have that really heavy number so that you can feel good about yourself. But then eventually your pride and your ego hit you too hard and you get injured, and then you have to take breaks and you lose those gains, or you put on too much fat and then you have to spend so much time undoing all that damage. But
Okay.
You ever heard the phrase or the saying, prevention is the best cure? Yeah, I love that one. I live my fitness life by that philosophy.
You don't push it any further than it needs to be, what you're saying.
Yeah, but of course I want to be big. I mean, my dad was a huge fan of Arnold Schwarzenegger when I was a kid. And so watching his movies and watching, what's his name? Sylvester Stallone and Van Damme and even Bruce Lee. So growing up with those, I still have that. I want to be big, but not huge, just enough to where, you can people turn their heads when they see you. And if you live here, you don't have to be that big to turn heads.
So all that equipment in total didn't exceed $700.
Yeah. Because at the time, 100 yen was $1. So it didn't exceed $700. So the bench was like 250 or something like that. The dumbbells, I paid like, I think it was like 300 at the time. If you try to buy them now, of course, inflation and all that, the prices are way higher. You're looking at $600-700 just for the dumbbells. But at the time, it was 300. So that's already 550, right? And then
Yeah.
the vest was like $50. And then the what do you call that? The pull-up bar thing was like
Mhm.
just about $100. And then slowly, whenever I wasn't spending too much, I would just like, oh, maybe I'll get like lifting gloves or lifting straps or something like that, or a belt. And those things don't cost a lot of money. And of course, you don't need them right away, especially if you're a beginner.
When was this exactly when you started to get all that equipment? Because I remember there was a period of time, because we've known each other for a long time. There's a period of time, like a year or two, where you just really just got really like ripped.
Oh,
And
when I packed on a
I'm
lot
thinking
of, yeah,
muscle.
that was
Like,
20. I
yeah.
bought the equipment end of 2016. So I started lifting at the gym early 2015, and then I
Yeah.
stopped in the middle of 2016 or near the end of 2016, and I bought the equipment, and then I just started lifting at home.
Yeah. And you've continued that routine, and you're happy with it, and that's what you've been doing this whole time.
Yeah,
Just the home equipment.
I've been tweaking it. So like I'll notice, for example, if you do, so these dumbbells are huge. And so they kind of limit your range of motion depending on the exercise that you're doing. So if you're trying to do lateral raises where you just lift the dumbbell to your side to exercise your shoulders,
Mhm.
you can only lower them so far before the dumbbells touch your hip
Oh,
or
okay.
your thighs.
Because they're big.
And yeah, so I had to think of another kind of exercise. And there's this channel on YouTube called Renaissance Periodization. And this guy, he's a doctor in New York. And um, he recommended this one variation of the lateral raise where you lean away from the dumbbell
Mhm.
at, let's say, like just shy of 45 degrees, and then lift the dumbbell up. So when you lower the dumbbell, you're still getting
Full,
resistance. Yeah, you're still getting resistance all the way to the point where it touches you. And then you can lift it as high as you can, and you're still getting full resistance throughout the full range of motion. And the whole point of that is so that you can stretch the muscle as far as it can go with full resistance. And after I did that, and I noticed like very fast gains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, just small adjustments, small adjustments you made over time.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the time when I saw you really like get really fit, and so I can say for sure, like, yeah, man, you don't really need anything else.
Yeah. And then another important thing that I did that made such a difference was I downloaded an app that logs your progress. And the one I have is called Strong. And basically, when you open up a new workout for that day, the stuff that you're going to type in is, of course, empty. Those fields are empty, right? And then to the left, it shows all the stuff that you logged the previous workout for that specific workout. And then it just helps you give you that little bit of like a push, tell you like, this is what you got last time. You want to shoot for better than last time. And then you just have that mentally every time you do it. And then I think I've been using that. I've logged 1,680 some workouts since I started that thing. Yeah. So if you're not logging your workouts and you want to keep motivated and you want to keep a log, Strong is the one. You can do I don't think there's a free version, but I think it's like you can pay monthly, every 3 months, annually, and then you can do the lifetime. And the lifetime one, when I did it, was like $100. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna go all in. I paid the $100 and I haven't regretted it.
I think there's one more thing I'm curious about. I wanted to ask you about this getting the equipment at home and just doing it all at home. Like you're a pretty disciplined person anyway, but do you ever find you just kind of lose motivation? I don't know. For me, when I go to the Taikukan and when I'm in the pool, I kind of like just having that atmosphere of other people around me moving, and it just really makes it easy for me to just focus on. I mean, I don't even have to think. I just move, and then it becomes a routine for me. But if I'm at home, it's like same with work too. Like if I'm at home and I'm by myself, I have no control over myself, and I'm just gonna go lie down or do something
Yeah.
else. But how do you try to keep disciplined, even though you're generally a disciplined person anyway? You have that app that you get motivation from.
Okay. Yeah. Like I would say not being motivated by one single thing, but being motivated by multiple things, so that if one of your motivations kind of dies down, you have the other ones left. So let's say, for example, you want to look like something, right? You start lifting, you're excited, and then you kind of not really care about looking like that anymore. You're done, right? But if you have another motivator, like let's say, for example, you don't want crazy people to approach you. So they'll see you, be intimidated, and just not even bother, right? That can be one motivator. That might not get you excited, but for that day or for that week, you might be remembering that thing. And then it'll be the reason for that week that you just keep going.
That's good.
And then there might even, for my situation, because I have kids, when I was really skinny, every once in a while, you'll get these like troublemakers that will kind of cause trouble near me and then intentionally bump into me, but make it seem accidental to see how I would respond. And in those situations, I already see what's happening. So I'll wait for them to bump into me and I'll just harden like my shoulder, like really hard until they hit me. And then they'll just bounce right off of me. But I was really skinny at the time. They thought that I would be intimidated very easily. And so I was like, okay, maybe if I'm by myself, not maybe, but if I'm by myself, I don't have a problem with that. I can do that. And then we're not going to get into a fight anyways, because this is Tokyo. It's one of the safest. It is the safest city in the world. I don't have a problem if they do that to me when I'm alone, but I have kids. And if they try to do that with around me when I have kids, my kids can get hurt. And I'm not ready to go to jail for kicking somebody's ass, right? Or to be deported for kicking somebody's ass. So one of my motivators is get big, they'll stay away from you. And I did that. I'm not huge.
That's almost like prevention is the best cure. Medicine,
yeah, prevention is the best cure. So so I told myself, get big and they'll leave you alone. And I'm not even big. I'm just bigger than they are, right? So for Japan, I'm relatively big. And so nobody bothers me anymore. They'll look from far away. When I see troublemakers, they'll eye me, but they won't approach. And then sometimes I hear people say stuff from far away, but they won't approach. So it works. And that's one of my motivators. But then sometimes I forget about that. And I'm like, don't even think about the safety of my kids when I lift weights, because I'm just focusing on lifting weights. But eventually you get to the point. So this is one thing that you can definitely try. When you begin lifting weights, you're starting off fighting the pain and resisting your will to give up, because it's like, it's too painful, right? So in the beginning, you're like, man, I have to lift again today. Man, I have to lift again today. Man, I have to lift again today. But if you lift for long enough and consistently enough, let's say 6 months, it's going to be different for everybody. For me, it was roughly 6 months. You eventually get to the point where, man, I have to lift today becomes, man, I better lift today because I haven't lifted yet. It becomes part of who you are. Does that make sense?
I mean, are you saying like it's a routine? Like it's almost the same as like for me when I think I haven't swam. I haven't swam this week. I feel like not normal. I feel like below normal.
It's not,
Like
I wouldn't even say that's pretty close, I guess. But I would say it's more along the lines of, oh crap, I forgot to brush my teeth. Like it just becomes ingrained in you, or if you don't do
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
really,
yeah.
really bad.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Like that much of a expectation of yourself, just something you do. It's
Yeah.
you.
So like if 9 o'clock rolls around, 9 o'clock a.m. rolls around, and I still haven't like started prepping for my lift,
Mhm.
for my workout
Yeah.
for that day, it won't leave my head until I start doing it.
Mhm.
And if I decide, even days that I decide, okay, I'm gonna take a break today, sometimes I'll forget that I'm supposed to take a break, and I'll just start getting ready, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna lift weights today. Okay, and then go do my day, go do my routine for that day, and then it'll keep popping up in my head throughout the day, and just be like, just get over it. Just never mind today. You need to rest.
You're talking to yourself. Like, calm down.
Yeah.
Right? Just relax.
And then going back to the motivators, like one of my motivators is I have, those old cartoons where you have like a devil version and an angel version of yourself on your shoulder. So I have only the angel on my shoulder, and the angel is saying, "You better get it done now. Are you that weak that you can just tell yourself you're not going to do it today? Come on, man. Don't be insert expletive here."
Yeah.
And it really helps some days where like I'm really down, I'm really tired, and I'm just like, man, I'm really tired. I've been working so hard. I want to take a break today. And then that little angel on my shoulder just says, hey, man, there's people working way harder than you and they're not giving up. Look at The Rock. Look at Dwayne Johnson, man. That guy's super rich, super busy, but he still
Yeah.
makes time to lift. So what's your excuse? You're broke as hell. What are you going to do? And then I'm just like, oh yeah, I should just do it. And then I just do it. Anyways, let's get to the next myth because we always.
Okay.
Myth number 3 is that supplements are unnecessary if you have a balanced diet. That's like duh, right? That doesn't even sound like a myth. It sounds like a fact.
Yeah.
But the fact is,
because you're fully nutrient. You
Yeah.
get full nutrients.
exactly. But there is a reason why it's a myth. So the fact is that given the high cost and limited availability of high protein foods in Japan, supplements can be crucial for those heavily into fitness, especially to meet specific nutritional goals that are hard to achieve through diet alone, particularly for muscle building and intensive training. So if you're
Yeah.
a local, this doesn't apply to you because you know where to find everything. But if you just got here, finding
Mhm.
supplements that are affordable is much easier than finding food that is affordable, that has the correct ratios that you want. Because
Okay, I understand.
protein supplements in Japan, like the food supplements, are pretty expensive. But if you get like the powders and stuff, they're pretty easy to find, like on Amazon and stuff.
Mhm.
But when you're looking at, like we talked about sashimi, for example, sashimi is pretty expensive. I found and have been eating a lot of eggs because eggs are very cheap in Japan. Um, I think in the US it's pretty expensive right now, if I'm not mistaken. I guess it depends on where and the availability. But I heard from one of my friends that where they live in the States, it's like $8 to $9 for a dozen of eggs. That's crazy. Here it's
Yeah,
like
that's expensive.
it's like $2. So $2
Yeah.
for, but it's not 12. You get 10. So $2 for 10. And then that's a lot of protein, man. Yeah, but then of course, like there's a lot of supplements out there, but the only ones that really make a difference, of course, are creatine and whey protein. And of course, soy protein. There's gonna be people who think that soy protein is gonna make your estrogen really high, which is bad. But then you don't even meet anybody who suffered that. So I mean, it is a myth. It's just that it's well spread. It's like, imagine if the earth being flat was much more popular. It's like that.
Yeah, I don't have so much experience with supplements, but I think what you said earlier, where if you just moved here, it's a lot easier to find a place to get supplements than it is to kind of figure out how to supplement your diet with just food at the supermarket or something.
Yeah. Yeah. So my solution for this situation is I always check between Amazon and this website called iHerb. So IHERB.com.
ERB.
And they sold their business to somebody because their prices used to be really cheap. And then all of a sudden their website changed, like the layout changed, the colors changed, and then all of a sudden the prices are like double. But once in a while, their prices are cheaper than Amazon. And then Amazon has sales. So when their sales are on, they're cheaper than iHerb. So before I ever make a purchase, I check both for what I need. And then you can get lucky sometimes.
Nice. Yeah, I've never used that site, but I saw you recommended that site to me a few times.
Yeah, the thing that I drink that really makes a difference for me in terms of like when I'm down one day, and then it kind of just takes me from the point where I'm like, should I take a break today, to all right, let's get to work, is this supplement called Optimum Nutrition Pre-Workout Gold Standard, I guess. Is that, yeah, because it's the gold one. And that one, it has just enough caffeine to give me that boost, that mental boost, but not enough to make me addicted to it. Because if you take a heaping scoop, it's like 175 milligrams of caffeine, which if you go more than 1 milligram of caffeine per kilogram of your body weight, you are at high risk of getting addicted to it. So you'll suffer like, of course, minor withdrawal symptoms when you stop taking caffeine. So if you don't drink coffee, you're going to have problems with it. And I don't drink coffee. But if you don't let the scoop heap, like you flatten off the top, like just like push it off so that it's level with the top of the cup or the scoop, you'll end up getting closer to around 80 to 90 milligrams. And my body weight is closer to 80 kilograms. So it's just enough. And I drink a lot of water every day. So that makes a difference too. Yeah. So that's my solution. So let's move on to the next myth. Yeah. So myth number 4 is that Japanese gyms are not foreigner friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact is that many gyms in urban areas are accustomed to accommodating non-Japanese speakers, offering multilingual support and a welcoming environment for foreigners. So going back to Maihama Taikukan, when I joined, I was with my wife. So she basically just dumbed down her Japanese so that I could understand. But whenever I go there by myself and I ask a question, they can tell that my Japanese is not so good, and they'll switch to English for me.
Yeah.
And there's one little interesting detail about this is the Disney dancers, they go to that gym. Not all of them, but the ones that don't want to bother going far enough to get to a legit gym, like a private gym, I mean. They go there. So there's you'll see Americans in there all the time.
Yeah, because the dancers are sometimes from the US or from other countries.
Yeah.
No, that's the thing too for me. But actually, I don't know if I can speak to this also because I look very Japanese. I guess I try very hard to speak Japanese when I go to the gyms. But but no, actually, the gym that I went to in Otemachi, which is like more like the downtown, like financial district area.
Yeah.
There are a lot of foreigners there too. Every time. Yeah, for sure. Like people speaking English. Like one time I heard this lady speaking English to the guy. I'll tell you one story that stuck in my mind for a long time. It's not really related, but it's kind of a side note.
Okay.
But there was this one lady who was wearing glasses in the pool, and the pool staff said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm sorry, you're going to have to remove your glasses." And then the lady started kind of like arguing back, saying, "No, in England, it's okay for people to use glasses in the pool. So, it should be okay here. I don't see what the problem is." And staff was saying, "No, ma'am, I'm sorry, but," but that kind of thing, like, unless you're, don't be a dick.
Yeah, that's messed up, man. Imposing your country's laws or rules on a country that you go to, man, that's messed up.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, and it is messed up, but I can kind of understand like that feeling sometimes. It comes up in you when you want to like take your old country choose rules and apply it here. But yeah, I would never say that. And so it's
Yeah.
kind of funny to hear that lady saying that.
And it makes sense to think that. It makes sense to say
Yeah.
that to yourself afterwards, but to say
Yeah,
that
yeah,
directly to the staff as if they're going to
No.
change their
Yeah,
whole
yeah, yeah.
country's way of thinking just because you disagree with it, that's messed up, man. That's so stupid.
Yeah.
That's pure
yeah.
Karen energy, man.
You know, it was that. But that lady, I guess, obviously was from England. But no, that gym that I went to had a lot of foreigners, and they have no problem there. So at least for me at that gym, definitely foreigner friendly for sure.
Mhm.
I think they even spoke English sometimes too.
Yeah. That's it for today's episode. If you have any stories you'd like us to share, or if you have any questions, please let us know. Until then, excuse me, Masen, and see you.
Excuse